Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be presenting Acciona's ESG and sustainable finance strategy. With a focus on how it integrates environmental, social, and governance principles into its operations. Each section manages different aspects of its integration, including strategic planning and financial tools to measure this impact. Today, we aim to understand how Acciona not only manages sustainability, but also manages to turn it into a competitive advantage. Following today's presentation, we'll cover 9 different aspects. This includes introduction to ESG and sustainable finance, Acciona's company background, sustainability master plan of 2025, the ESG strategy implementation, sustainable finance initiatives, a case study on circular economy in action, quantitative analysis, some visual data representations, and a conclusion with some recommendations, including also the insights of our fellow group members. To start off, Gabby will introduce Acciona's business model and global footprint.
In today's world, companies are expected to go beyond profit and contribute to a more sustainable and equitable future. ESG criteria, along with sustainable finance, have become key drivers of responsible business and investment. ESG criteria assesses how companies manage their environmental impact, their social responsibility, and their ethical governance. Sustainable finance directs investments toward projects that support long-term environmental and social goals. At Acciona, sustainability is the foundation of our business. Our commitment to renewable energy infrastructure and water solutions reflects our role in building a better planet through ESG leadership. Acciona is a global group that develops and manages sustainable infrastructure solutions, particularly in renewable energy. The company operates across the entire value chain, from design construction to operation and maintenance. Acciona's goal is to lead the transition to a low-carbon economy, bringing technical excellence and innovation to all its projects to help design a better planet. With a presence in over 40 countries and 17.2 billion in sales in 2023, that here we have a graph of the revenues of Acciona in the past years, and we can see that in 2024-2025, they are in their maximum point. So the company is dedicated to contributing to the economic and social development of the communities where it operates. With nearly a century of experience, Acciona is better equipped than ever to face our planet's challenges and continue leading the way toward a more sustainable future. And now Nico is going to explain you the Master Plan 2025 of sustainability.
This slide covers the Sustainability Master Plan of 2025 from sustainability to regeneration. Acciona's current Sustainability Master Plan of 2025 represents a strategic evolution, a shift from simply reducing harm to actively creating positive environmental and social value. The goal is to achieve a net positive impact, meaning Acciona's operations aim to restore and regenerate more than they consume. This vision is embedded, as we can see in this graph, across all areas of the business, including energy, infrastructure, and water. And as the fourth plan in a long-term series that began in 2010 and is renewed every 5 years, it reflects Acciona's ongoing commitment to integrating sustainability into core strategy. The Sustainability Master Plan of 2025 is built on 3 strategic pillars. The first one is climate action, where Acciona aims to achieve carbon neutrality by reducing greenhouse gas emissions across its operations. The second is the circular economy, which focuses on eliminating waste and maximizing resource efficiency. This commitment is clearly reflected in the data below. Between 2020 and 2023, the percentage of recycled materials increased from 60 to 78%, and waste reduction efforts grew from 10 to 35%. Projections for 2025 show these numbers continuing to rise, reaching 87% for recycled materials and 45% for waste reduction, a clear sign of measurable progress. The third pillar is social impact, centered on promoting inclusion, equity, and local development. Through community partnerships and stakeholder engagement, Acciona works to create positive social outcomes alongside its environmental goals. Together, these 3 pillars represent the shift from simply minimizing negative impact to actively generating long-term value for both people and the planet. To understand how this vision is put into practice, Alfonso will present the company's ESG strategy pillars.
This slide focuses on how Acciona actively puts its ESG commitment into practice. I'll start by defining ESG. It's environmental, social, and governance. It's a framework used to evaluate how responsibly a company operates beyond just financial performance. Let's start off with environmental. Acciona invests heavily in renewable energy, infrastructure, including wind, solar, and green hydrogen projects, helping to avoid millions of tons of CO2 emissions annually. Acciona is also very committed to achieving carbon neutrality by reducing emissions from its operations and energy use, and tracks these reductions as a key measure of its environmental performance. It also implements nature-positive solutions such as biodiversity, conservation, and sustainable water use as part of infrastructure development. Next, let's go with the social impact. Acciona fosters inclusive local employment, prioritizing talent from the places where it operates. Through offering training, education, and social investment programs, the company helps in the long-term socio-economic development. Its diversity and inclusion policy promotes gender equality and accessibility across all operations. The last one is governance. ESG considerations are incorporated into all investment and strategy choices to follow sustainability as well as ethics requirements. The company applies strict supplier sustainability screening, with ESG risk screens being incorporated into procurement and due diligence. Acciona's governance model includes autonomous supervisions by the board, regular ESG audits, in alignment with global frameworks such as the UN Global Compact and Sustainable Development Goals.
Then Belen will explain how Acciona finances its impact through green bonds as sustainability-linked bonds.
Acciona has redefined how it finances growth by placing sustainability in the core of its strategy. Instead of using traditional bank loans and standard corporate bonds, it now focuses on green label debt that complies with the EU taxonomy for sustainable activities. Since 2016, Acciona has issued over 5.85 billion in green bonds, and in just the last 4 years, those green bonds have increased sharply, going from 13% of their debt to 79% of their debt for 2024. This money isn't just symbolic. It's been used to build real infrastructures like wind farms, solar plants, green hydrogen, and other projects. For example, in 2023, Acciona issued a 1.5 billion green bond to help finance solar installation across Spain and Latin America, reinforcing their clean energy leadership. By doing this, Acciona has not just aligned with global climate goals, but also benefits from lower borrowing costs and strong demand from ESG-focused investors who want to support sustainable companies. These two graphs together show how deeply Acciona has transformed its financial model. The first chart shows how cumulative green bond funding, which jumped from under 1 billion in 2020 to nearly 6 billion in 2024, a sign of massive investment in sustainable projects. At the same time, the second graph shows how green bonds now make up for 79% of the Acciona's corporate debt, compared to the 13% from years ago. This rapid growth in both scale and proportion reflects a deliberate strategic commitment to green finance, not just for image, but as a core part of how the company funds its operations and the long-term growth. This proves that Acciona sustainability focuses isn't just about reputation, it's a core business model for long-term growth and resilience.
To see this in action, Catalina will explore a real-life case study of circular innovation and collaboration with El Ganso.
Acciona, a leader in renewable energy and sustainable infrastructure, partnered in 2024 with El Ganso, a Spanish fashion brand, to give a second life to decommissioned wind turbine blades. The partnership exemplifies circular economy principles, extending the life cycle of materials and minimizing waste. Circular innovation. Wind turbine blades are made of composite materials such as fiberglass and resin, which are hard to recycle and often end up in landfills after 20 or 25 years. Acciona created a pilot project to recycle all turbine blades from its Tahibla wind farm in Cádiz, transforming them into raw materials for sneakers. El Ganso designed and marketed sneakers using these materials, turning industrial waste into sustainable fashion. The collaboration between Acciona and El Ganso exemplifies how circular economy principles can create both environmental and economic value. By recycling wind turbine blades into sneakers, the project helps reduce negative externalities. This process also lowers Acciona's waste management and compliance costs while capturing a new value from industrial bioproducts. From a consumer's perspective, El Ganso leveraged sustainability as a differentiating factor in a monopolistic competition. The initiative fuels a positive feedback loop, encouraging more green investments. Furthermore, Acciona's investment in a recycling facility in Navarra not only reinforces its commitment to sustainability, but also stimulates regional economic development through job creation and increased local economic activity. Strategic value. It supports the company broader sustainability master plan of 2025, which aims not only for carbon neutrality but also for regeneration, leaving a net positive impact on the environment. By engaging on this tangible circular economy project, Acciona strengthens its credibility as a sustainability leader and reinforces its alignment with global objectives like the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals.
We're now going to shift onto our data analysis, where Alfonso and Javier will conduct an evaluation of ESG investments.
Now we're going to assess the impact of ESG investments on Acciona's financial performance. The methodology consists on two variables: the dependent variable, that is the return on equity, and the independent variable, that consists of on the ESG investments in renewable energy capacity and in the CO2 emissions reduced.
For every additional 1 million euros invested in ESG projects, ROE increased by 0.0023 percentage points. This suggests that ESG investments are not only environmentally responsible, but also financially beneficial. The CO2 avoided variable had a negative coefficient, but it was not statistically significant in the small sample. The model is highly robust, with an R squared of 99.88%, indicating it explains almost all the variation in ROE.
So this graph shows the ESG investments versus the return on equity, and as we can see, there's a strong upward line, a trend that shows that at time that we increase the investments on ESG, the return on equity is also increased. So this basically shows a positive correlation. Now we're going to see the visual data representation. In the first graph, we can see the CO2 emissions. In 2022, Acciona's energy scope 1 emissions reached 6,000 tons of CO2. And in the scope 2, the market-based emissions reached 3,000 tons of CO2. The total Acciona energy scope 1 plus 2 emissions represents 80% less than the base year 2017. This is due to our complying with the company decarbonization pathway to 2030. The fall in the emissions was due to an increase in the use of electricity from renewable sources rather than conventional electricity. The implementation of energy efficiency has also been very important to this decrease. The second graph shows the carbon intensity value. In 2022, the company continued to implement measures to reduce the scope 3 emissions, and as we can see, the carbon intensity value has been reduced from 29 to 2 million euros, what represents a decrease of a 93% in CO2 emissions value.
This graph illustrates the global trend in energy investments from 2017 to 2022. It's relevant to Acciona because the company operates within the renewable infrastructure and energy sectors. Within the graph, we have three major categories, one being coal, oil, gas, and low carbon fuels, the power sector, and end use and efficiency. The investment consistently increases, especially from 2020 to 2022, showing a strong global push towards cleaner and more efficient energy systems. What this chart shows is that the direction and global capital is aligning with companies like Acciona. It reflects a systemic shift towards sustainability, something Acciona is strategically positioned to lead and benefit from.
In conclusion, Acciona's commitment to sustainability is more than just strategic. It's measurable, regenerative, and financially sound. The company's integrated approach through long-term planning, innovative financing, and operational execution positions itself as a global leader in sustainable development. Our recommendation for Acciona is to continue scaling its circular economy initiatives and to explore broader ESG-linked financing across new regions, reinforcing both impact and investor confidence. This is the last part, which is our bibliography.